Culture has turned into economy, and economy has turned into that special form of monetary economy that we can call crematism. Wealth has changed from being natural resources to something we call money, and what is today just digits or numbers in a ledger. Only 5% of all money in Europe is bills or coins. How can the politicians tell us that there is a lack of money? Is there a lack of numbers? They can't improve the elderly care, they can't invest in children, and so forth. Because there is a lack of numbers. Is it, really? During the first corona year, I don't know how many millions of Swedish crowns the Central Bank of Sweden spent into society. And when Stefan Ingves got the question from a journalist, is there no stop in the money tap? He answered, no, there isn't. But don't forget, this money is not for free. There will be interest and compound interest on them. Here are some signs of crematism in our societies. Maybe you have noticed. Policy is subordinated the commercial banks and their will to lend money. Even the state can't create the money they need for people's survival or well-being. Progress and wealth is measured by GDP, BNP in Swedish, a measure that counts both good and bad. Consequently, trees are worth a lot more cut down as timber as they are as individual species excuse me, in a diversified forest. Number 3, it is well known that a handful of super-rich men owns as much as the 50% poorer part of the world. Number 4, we are no longer members of a society. We are working slaves and products on a market. 5, the income gap between rich and poor has never been as big as it is now, especially in Sweden. 6, 98% or more of all so-called money travels around in the fancy world where speculators buy and sell different paper products. Only 2% or less stays in the real economy where real people exchange goods and services. I know that there is a great agreement among the alternative thinkers concerning what money should or should not be. First of all, we all agree that money used for circulation in society should not be privately owned. It should not be possible to speculate with household money. Commercial banks should not be bailed out with taxed money. Money should not be seen as a thing. Money should be a mean or a tool for exchanging things we need. The new money is no money, says Professor Thomas Greco, one of the most prominent persons in this field. Despite his age of 85, he still travels all over the globe in order to educate and inspire people on the ground to take destiny in their own hands. The goal is threefold: to empower communities to become more self-reliant, to protect the environment, and to slip out of the grip of conventional money. Greco has worked with this issue for 40 years inside and outside university, and he is taking a broad perspective on the subject. Actually, his aim is to restore culture without money. But living in a world of interacting and dependence of each other, we do of course need to exchange goods and services also worldwide. The solution is named CC, credit clearing. Instead of money being lent out from a bank, Greco proposes businesses, companies and individuals to exchange goods and services and keeping track of the transactions digitally. This is in fact something that big companies already do all over the world. It is called barter, and WTO, World Trade Organization, reckon that about 25% of all international trade will be using this method in 2025. No banks involved, no profit to middlemen. In Switzerland, there is a CC system that has run just as long as Thomas Greco has lived. It is called WIR, and it has about 50,000 members. That's about 20% of all small and middle small businesses in Switzerland. It functions very well, so the government is happy for their contribution within the Swiss market. Actually, there are thousands of local exchange systems around the world. In order to succeed in the long run, such systems should not be too small, not too big either. Ideally, many exchange circles that can cooperate with the help of a regional currency would be the best solution. What some of us saw 30 years ago is obvious for a much larger group of people today. Internet is full of YouTubes on how banks create money out of thin air. The international organization Positive Money has had conversations with politicians and central bank officers, and all over the globe creative people start new monetary systems. Since 1988, much of what was previously hidden is now out in the air. Everybody knows that banks are privately owned with the imperative to make profit to their shareholders. This rapidly growing awareness creates an opportunity for change, and change is coming, but only if we are apt to use our imagination and get the false presumption of what economy is and money is out of our heads. And thank you for listening.
Just det, nu tittar du åt vänster direkt, så ja, men det gör inget. Du kunde inte låta bli.
Nej.